Hello and welcome. Happy Thursday and welcome to our Thursday YouTube Live. Today I'm going to be talking to those round one, round two, round three future MBA applicants in terms of how do you select the business schools. So that is the topic for today's discussion, and I'm excited to dive right in. So let's start with what's really at stake in terms of selecting the right schools. So first and foremost, choosing the wrong school isn't just about missing or missed opportunities. It can derail your momentum, cost you time, and disconnect you from career outcomes you're working so hard for. And I'm going to talk more about what that actually means. The right school, however, it's not just about the name, right? It's not just about Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, these name schools. It's really, you must think about the right school as your launch pad. It puts you in the right room, it connects you to the right recruiters, and stretches you in the ways you need most. And that is unique to every single person. The mistake I see high achievers make is relying on ranking. So whether that's Sports and Quants, US News and World Report, Financial Times, any one of those rankings alone. They also rely on hearsay. I heard my friend say this about this school, or sometimes even gut instinct without a structured strategy. And that's where things can absolutely go wrong. So today, I'm sharing a decision-making framework that has helped our clients here at Sia Admissions gain offers from M7, top 15 schools, not just because they were qualified, but because their school list was built on alignment and not ego. And this is how you choose the right program for your goals, your values, and your long-term game. Because choosing the wrong school in terms of applying, it's honestly a lot of wasted time because the probability of getting in also is very slim. So too many applicants start with the wrong question. Where can I get in? And while that may feel practical, it's actually very short-sighted because getting in is just step one. The bigger question is, where will I thrive? Where am I most aligned? Where will I be challenged intellectually, supported socially, and empowered professionally? The best fit MBA isn't always the one with the highest ranking or the most recognized name. It's the one that meets you where you are and equips you with towards the future that you're building for yourself. The school that sees the real you, not just your resume, and offers the environment, the resources, the community that help you grow into the person you're becoming, that is the right school for you. And that is what we mean when you hear about alignment in terms of school selection. And until you anchor your school selection with that in mind, with that lens, you are really playing a guessing game in your school selection process and not really being strategic to build a future that is going to be a successful future for yourself. So when client comes to us here at Sia, Admissions, overwhelmed by choices, even if you're targeting top 20 business schools, it doesn't mean you're going to apply to all 20 schools, right? And you are stuck chasing, or they're stuck chasing name brands. I bring them back to this. There is a system to selecting schools. You don't just randomly, pick from a hat, essentially. This isn't about emotional preferences or blind ambition. It's about really structured thinking. That's where you can then bring in later on intuition and, this gut feeling, but it has to start from strategy. First, you have to start with you. Clarify what you need professionally before you do anything else. And that's something that oftentimes applicants do wrong. Then after you've identified what you want and what you need, then you assess how schools deliver those outcomes academically, culturally, and in terms of network access. These 5 layers, clarity, program strength, culture fit, recruiting outcome, and list balance, and I'll talk what that actually means, are how we remove guessing or guesswork from the process of your school selection. And yes, this absolutely takes time. It's not something that you can decide in 5 minutes, but every hour that you spent on identifying what you need and or deciding what is it that you need and then aligning with the school is the hours saved from months of regret that will follow, because the outcome of your application won't be authentic because it's not really aligned with what you care about, what you want. And obviously, in a situation where you end up attending that school, there is going to be a lot of regret if you're not in the right place, in the right culture, in the right community of people that are going to help you get to where you want to go. So step one, we're going to talk briefly about the clarity on self and goals. This is, as I mentioned, the cornerstone. You can't select the right MBA program until you're clear on where you're going and why. What kind of leader do you want to become? What kind of life are you designing for yourself? And there's no one who can answer this but you. You must spend time reflecting on these motivations. And before you start researching schools, you should do this first, because you will absolutely, so long as you're human, you will be swayed by marketing collateral, marketing copy that schools are putting out there. So your job is to self-reflect first. When you have vague goals, those lead to vague school choices, right? And that's when you see applicants kind of like spray and pray across top 15 schools with no clear through line. Your story has to connect, not just in your essays, but in the logic of your school list itself. If you need international recruiting access, proximity to VCs, deep general management track, those are elements. So if those are the things you need, you have to look at how those shape where you're applying, not just where your GPA fits and where your GMAT or GRE fits, and where the admission team can take a look at your application in a little bit more detail. It's really about you at the end of the day. Every MBA website will tell you they're collaborative. They will tell you that they're global, and then they will tell you that they're diverse. That's marketing for you, right? And this is the reason why when you don't spend time on reflecting what is it that you need and what is it that you want, I hear applicants, prospective applicants, talk about how can I differentiate between schools because they all sound the same, right? What actually matters is what's under the surface. Who's teaching the courses you care about? What cross-disciplinary opportunities are available to you? Which employers are pulling talent straight from campus? This is where fit becomes tactical. And one client, as an example, one client came thinking that she wanted a finance-heavy MBA, but when we dug deeper, her interests really aligned with entrepreneurship and innovation, so her list evolved. And that's where you have to do the first layer first before you go into the business school. And that shift, that understanding of yourself, what do you need, that will inform what schools you target, what questions you ask, how you approach your school selection itself, which is the second step, sort of going beyond the homepage of the school's website. Now, step 3 is culture and learning style. You are not just choosing a curriculum. This is not undergraduate. This is not a focused master's degree that is teaching you a lot of theory. You are choosing a culture. And the wrong one can leave you feeling isolated, unseen, or disconnected from your peers and the kinds of communities that you want to be a part of. So your question for yourself is, do I thrive in discussion-based learning or in data-driven lectures? Do I want close-knit cohort or a massive network? These are not really small details. They are the lived experiences of your MBA and it's what's going to be your future 2 years, based on what you answer to, what you say, what's your answer to those questions. So this is why you have to go beyond, again, the homepage, beyond LinkedIn outcomes, and ask real questions and better questions to your alumni, students of your target institutions. But you can't ask better questions, again, going back to that step one, if you don't spend time reflecting on what is it that you want. Pay attention to, when you have conversations with students and alumni, pay attention to how they describe their professors, their classmates, the energy on campus. That's where culture lives. It's never going to be a data-driven discussion. It's always going to be about the patterns of conversations, a pattern of descriptions that you get from speaking to different people. And what I advise always applicants to make sure they don't do is only talk to your friend who is going to the business school you're targeting, because that is a not very open-minded approach to your business school application. You actually have to talk to people who are in the spaces that you're interested in being, in the rooms you're interested in being. So if you're interested in energy and your friend is going into marketing in CPG, that is not the right person to have a conversation with. You have to have a conversation with someone who's in energy. Obviously fill in the details of your own interests and your own goals. So step 4 is outcomes and brand power. This is something our community here is very much sensitive to, and I totally understand. I am privileged to have experienced those myself, and I understand brand power. But being on the other side, I'm going to say that there's a difference between a strong MBA brand and a strategic MBA choice. Some schools carry exceptional prestige, but won't open doors in the industries or geographies that you're interested in being in. Others might fly under the radar, but give you unparalleled access to top recruiters that you want, with employers that you want to be in your own individual space. So you have to understand where your alumni network is connected, what firms recruit heavily from campus, and how those relationships translate to your career. And it is important that you have those conversations before you start crafting materials. You want to make sure that you don't choose schools because someone said it was a top 10 school. Choose it because it's top tier for you and your goals. Now, once you have put a list of about 10 schools on your categories of, these are potential schools, you obviously have to narrow it down. You can't apply to 10 schools. I mean, you could, but to be honest, your applications are not going to be strong because most of you should have jobs while you are applying to business schools, and you have to balance all of those pieces together. So your list should be about 6 schools. You'll have 2 reach, 3 target, 1 safety, in that category, again, from the schools that meet your needs. And obviously this is where, a balanced list is going to be really important. But what is important for you to remember that a balanced list, right? So especially if you look at the safety, because everyone oftentimes thinks of this in this way, it doesn't mean settling. It means diversifying risk intelligently. So if all your schools are in the same tier or rely on the same narrative to get you in, you are exposing yourself to unnecessary risk. If you're applying to all M7s and there are reach schools for you based on your profile and your background, then that is too risky of a move, right? And if you're unsure where you stand, we definitely have a profile evaluation on our website. It's free to use. And we'll give you some feedback in terms of where you stack up based on your school list. So take advantage of that. So every school on your list should feel like a win, right? If all of the other reach and target schools say no to you and you get into safety, you should still be excited to attend a safety school, right? That's what I mean by they should all feel like a win. And the win is that they should all advance your long-term goals, whether it's a reach, a target, or a safety. So this means you're not just looking at that short-term post-MBA. Again, we are strategic leaders, right? Or future strategic leaders. You want to make sure that you are looking at the MBA as a long-term ROI investment into your future. And it's not just about consulting. You may want to do consulting or finance post-MBA. You want to look at what does the future look like long-term for you. So if you want to do consulting short-term, but long-term, you want to work in products for energy, then you have to look at what the school's ROI is in terms of the energy sector. Are you going to have a network that is strong in that space, right? That's the way you make sure that you are selecting your list that is going to give you the long-term ROI and not just that short-term. Because if you think about it, about 80% of an MBA class goes into finance, consulting, and tech. And those are so broad, it can be really, it's kind of an all-encompassing sectors. So you want to be really strategic in terms of how you choose your own school list. So let me call out some of the common traps I see applicants make. First, building your list off ranks and Reddit threads. I know, I hear conversations that, applicants are having. That is definitely not the right way to go. Applying to the same school as your friend or coworker, irrespective of goal alignment. Ignoring red flags because you're chasing prestige and not actually what you want. These are all the kind of choices that look good on paper but leave you feeling stuck in the application process. And also it's going to be unaligned. It's going to be really hard for you to sell your candidacy to a school where the fit does not match. And because of that, your application is going to look generic and obviously inauthentic. And as such, admission chances are very low in such application, in such candidate application. Because the admission team can absolutely sense that this is a inauthentic, superficial application. And even if you manage to present yourself, get into the program based on prestige and not actually what you want, recruiters will sense it as well. So make your decisions based on vision and not vanity at the end of the day. That's what I want you to take away. So some final takeaways before we move into Q&A. So if you have any questions based on what I said so far, ask your questions in the chat and I will be answering those. I have 2 more slides and then we can go into questions. So what I want to leave you with first is you're not building a list, you're designing your future. So remember that. This is an important next step in your life because it sets the trajectory of what your 20 years, 30 year, 50-year future career looks like. So make sure that you're making the right decisions in terms of which school you're saying yes to, which schools you're adding to your list, and because you're going to be a representative of that school. You're going to leverage that network for the rest of your future career, if you choose to, of course. And that means that the best MBA is not always the most famous. It's the one that will amplify who you are and where you're going. You need a system to evaluate programs based on more than just marketing copy from their website. You need to think long-term, and again, not short-term, not just your post-MBA goal. And you need to, of course, trust that choosing fit over fame is not a compromise. It's actually a quite strong power move. This is, again, you want to be in a community where you feel like you're going to thrive, because the energy that you exude in the process of being in that kind of community is going to amplify your success irrespective of the school rank. So if you feel overwhelmed about this process and you want coaching, definitely reach out for a one-on-one coaching discussion or a consultation call. We can talk about where you are, what you're looking to do, and how we can help support you in this MBA journey. And also subscribe to our channels. Every week we have a new topic. We typically try to align with where applicants are in the journey. So this way you're getting the most relevant information now based on where you should be in your application journey itself. So subscribe to our channel so that you are notified of all of our future events. As a reminder, next week I will be interviewing Berkeley Haas's commencement speaker for the class of 25. So if you are considering Berkeley Haas in your list, or if you're not and you're just curious about what Berkeley Haas has to offer or haven't considered it yet, definitely join, and we will discuss what was the experience like, what were the pros and cons of attending Berkeley, and what does the future of Paul Logan, who is the commencement speaker for this year, look like in terms of what he was able to get post MBA. And then after that, the next Thursday after that, we will have, sorry, I have to remember what is our next topic. Yes, we're going to talk about how to turn your MBA conversations into admission advantage. This is essentially, we're going to talk about how to ask those the right questions of students, alumni. So it's very much in alignment with today's conversation. So if you haven't registered for that, make sure that you do. So this way, and ask your questions. This way we can build the questions into the presentation so that you can watch it as a replay, especially if you're not joining us live. Beautiful. All right, let's go into questions. If you have any questions, write them in whichever platform you're joining us from, and I will answer them live. We have about 8 minutes left, so ask away. In the meantime, I will start with questions that have come through the registration. All right, I'm a banker and want to work in core finance. Which school should I select? I mean, when we think about core finance, you know, schools like Wharton, Columbia, NYU, these are very much finance heavy schools or have strong networks in the finance sector. However, I mentioned those schools, but I'm not sure which schools you should personally apply to, because it depends on what your experiences have been and where where you stack up in comparison to the class profile. So the selection, of course, is going to be a combination of how strong of a candidate you are for that particular school, where it's the category, and obviously what you are looking to get out of these business schools. So if you are looking core finance, those are some of the schools that you could look at. But I would also suggest that you look at what your long-term plan is going to be. Are you going to stay in core finance? And even if you stay in core finance, what is your interest within core finance? Do you have an interest in sector that you want to be specializing in? And as we know, yes, finance is a numbers game, but it's also a network game. And you want to make sure that you are at a school that's going to give you the access to the network that you need based on the spaces and the interests that you have. Obviously, in where your investments are going to, or your investment projects are going to be focused in. So look at that holistically as you select your target list. Beautiful. Next question. I received conflicting advice from 2 alumni regarding how to present my career goals. How can I determine which perspective is more aligned with the admission committee's expectations? you shouldn't let someone else dictate your future. Why would you do that? Don't do that. Go in and look at what is your actual career goal. What is the feasibility of that career goal? Meaning, you have to understand, is it something that's really difficult to get? And if so, then yes, you have to reassess your goal and make sure that it's accessible. Because, I have applicants who tell me, when I have conversations and through our consultation calls, especially, applicants say, oh, my friend was able to pivot from industry to private equity or venture capital or something like that. And I want to do the same. And I know it's possible to be able to do it. And the answer is yes, of course it's possible. But will the admission team believe that that's possible? Because the probability is so low, and they don't know you. They don't know that you have this drive and determination to go into the spaces. So you have to really be pragmatic in terms of what your goals are going to be, and what is feasible. So keep that in mind. But you always want to make sure that you're anchoring in your own wants and needs, so your own values. Take people's feedback, of course, but you are autonomous, and you need to anchor based on the research that you have done, based on the goals that you have, and based on the values that you have. That's why you have to focus on your goals from your own personal self. I've had a client who essentially we built an entire application with private equity goals in mind, and he had private equity background. So this is not out of the, I don't typically do private equity goal descriptions, but for those who do have private equity experience, that's something that we do. And he had conversations with students at his target school at Kellogg, and they told him, oh, you should change your private equity aspirations to consulting because everyone does that. And he, of course, called me, panicked about what should he do, because he got this feedback, and I was able to kind of, get him off the ledge of changing his entire goals. He was a reapplicant at that, and I was like, look at your experiences, look at who you are, look at what you bring to the table. There is no reason why you should go. If you move into consulting now, it's actually going to look odd in your application. And luckily, he took my feedback and got into the program that he wanted, with scholarship at that, his second time around. So the point here is to say that, yes, have conversation, but take every intel that you get with a grain of salt, because not everyone knows your full story. All right, I see a question that came in the chat. So I'm going to read it out loud, so this way your name doesn't show up on the screen. I want to pursue my entrepreneurship journey after the MBA. What are the criteria to determine the best school to reach that goal? Definitely look at schools that have that produce entrepreneurs. So some of the schools are obviously Stanford, that the one that everyone wants, but recognize that that's a high reach school for everyone, given just how competitive it is to get in. Look at schools that offer entrepreneurship support, like MIT. There's a lot of entrepreneurial activity going on there. I know Wharton is working on that as well. I have clients who are at Berkeley who have received support to start their own entrepreneurship venture. So it really depends on what your profile looks like and how it connects to the school's expectations in terms of who they're looking for the next class for them. And then aligning and applying to some reach schools, high reach schools like Stanford, but also some target and safety school. Again, all of these should be in alignment with helping you get to your entrepreneurial journey. So all of them must be in that category, but you're not putting all your eggs in your Stanford basket, because the probability of getting in is very low. And that doesn't mean that you can't be a successful entrepreneur if you don't go to Stanford. Beautiful. All right. Perfect. So I think I don't see any other questions in the chat. Thank you for being here with me today, for your wonderful questions, the one that's submitted them through the registration and the live questions. So as a reminder, if you are interested in Berkeley, join me next week on the 14th of May. I will be interviewing Paul Logan, Berkeley Haas 2025 commencement speaker. It's going to be a really interesting conversation, so I really highly encourage you to join us live. And next Thursday, our usual program, next Thursdays, we're going to talk about how to have, insightful conversations with students that will help you refine your list of schools and help you put together a stronger application. So you don't want to miss that if you're going through the application journey. And of course, subscribe to our channel for all of our future events that we'll be hosting. It's going to be a lively May, so keep a lookout. Thank you again, and I will see you next week.